July 1994. A man walks into his boss's office on Wall Street. He's 30 years old, making over $1 million a year, youngest senior vice president in the company's history, the kind of career most people spend their entire lives chasing. He quits. His boss thinks he's lost his mind. His friends think he's throwing away everything he's worked for. His father-in-law pulls him aside and says, "This sounds like a really good idea for someone who doesn't already have a great job." The man's name is Jeff Bezos, and he's about to bet everything on an idea that sounds absolutely ridiculous: selling books online through this thing called the internet that barely anyone understands. His wife, Mackenzie, drives their beat-up Chevy Blazer across the country, from New York to Seattle. Jeff sits in the passenger seat, hunched over a laptop, typing out a business plan as they cross state lines. He doesn't even know which city they're moving to yet. He's narrowing down options while they drive. They end up in a rented house in the Seattle suburbs. Bellevue, Washington. The garage becomes the office. 3 employees working at desks made from old doors and 2x4s. No heat, no air conditioning, just ambition and a belief that the world is about to change. The website launches on July 16, 1995. It's called Amazon.com, named after the world's biggest river, because Jeff wants to build the world's biggest store. Everyone thinks it's crazy. Why would anyone buy books online when Borders and Barnes and Noble are on every corner? How do you compete with stores that have been around for decades? What happens when this internet fad dies? But Jeff Bezos sees something nobody else sees. He understands something about the future that Wall Street executives, retail giants, and even Silicon Valley completely miss. And that understanding will make him the richest person on the planet. This is the story of how a garage startup became a trillion-dollar empire, how one man's obsession with thinking long-term beat every competitor who thought short-term, how Amazon didn't just survive, it became everything. This is how Jeff Bezos built Amazon. To understand Jeff Bezos, you need to go back to the beginning, because the clues were always there. January 12, 1964, Albuquerque, New Mexico. A baby is born to a 17-year-old high school student named Jacqueline Gies. She names him Jeffrey Preston Jorgensen. His biological father, a man named Ted Jorgensen, is barely in the picture. By the time Jeff is a toddler, Ted is gone completely. When Jeff is 4 years old, his mother marries a man named Miguel Bezos. Miguel came to America from Cuba when he was 15, alone. No English, no money, just determination. He worked his way through college, built a career as a petroleum engineer, and he adopted Jeff, gave him his last name, raised him like his own son. Years later, Jeff would say Miguel Bezos was the only father he ever knew. The family moves to Houston, then Miami. Jeff grows up different, not just smart, obsessively, intensely focused. His mother tells a story about when Jeff was 3 years old. He wanted a real bed instead of a crib, so he found a screwdriver and took the crib apart himself. At 3. In elementary school, Jeff gets so absorbed in projects that teachers have to physically move his desk to get his attention. In high school, he's valedictorian, builds an electric alarm to keep his younger siblings out of his room, dreams about space travel and inventing things that don't exist yet. His high school girlfriend later recalls that Jeff told her, flat out, that he wanted to be an entrepreneur. Not rich, not famous, an entrepreneur. He wanted to build something that mattered. At Princeton, Jeff studies electrical engineering and computer science. Graduates summa cum laude, gets job offers from Intel, Bell Labs, Anderson Consulting, but he chooses Wall Street. Why? Because that's where the smart kids with math skills were going in the late 1980s. He joins a firm called Fattel, then moves to Bankers Trust, then lands at D.E. Shaw, a quantitative hedge fund that's pioneering the use of computer algorithms in finance. Jeff thrives. He's brilliant with numbers, sees patterns in data that others miss. By age 28, he's a senior vice president. By 30, he's making seven figures. He has the corner office, the career, the future everyone dreams about. And then he reads a single statistic that changes everything. Internet usage is growing at 2,300% per year. Most people in 1994 don't even know what the internet is, but Jeff does, and he sees it, the wave, the opportunity, the tiny window in time that won't stay open forever. He starts thinking, what could you sell online? What product makes sense for this new technology? He makes a list, 20 products. Books rise to the top. Why books? 3 reasons. 1, there are over 3 million books in print. No physical bookstore can stock even a fraction of that. But a website? A website can list every single one. 2, books are standardized. A copy of a Stephen King novel is the same everywhere. You don't need to touch it, see it, try it on. You just need the title. 3, book distributors already have massive databases. Jeff can plug into their systems without building his own inventory infrastructure from scratch. He writes up a detailed business plan, 30 pages, projections, market analysis, strategy. He presents it to his boss at D.E. Shaw, David Shaw. David looks at the plan, nods, and says, Jeff, this is a really good idea, but it's a better idea for someone who doesn't already have a great job. Jeff goes home, thinks about it for 2 days straight, and then he creates a framework that will guide every major decision for the rest of his life. He calls it the regret minimization framework. He imagines himself at 80 years old, looking back on his life. Would he regret leaving Wall Street and $1 million salary? Probably not. Would he regret not trying this internet thing when he had the chance? Absolutely. That regret would haunt him forever. The decision becomes crystal clear. He walks into David Shaw's office and quits. 2 weeks later, he and Mackenzie are driving west, toward Seattle, toward a garage, toward the biggest gamble of his life. July 16th, 1995. Amazon.com goes live. The website is basic, almost ugly, blue hyperlinks on a gray background, a search bar, a list of book titles, no fancy graphics, no images of book covers, just text and functionality. But it works. The first order comes in almost immediately, a book about science from someone in California. Jeff and his small team, 3 employees working in the garage, pack the book by hand, drive it to the post office, ship it. Within the first week, Amazon ships books to customers in all 50 states and 45 countries. Revenue for that week, $20,000. Not profit, revenue. But Jeff isn't focused on profit, not yet. He has a strategy. 3 words that become the company mantra: get big fast. While traditional retailers obsess over quarterly earnings and profit margins, Jeff focuses on one thing: growth, market share, customer acquisition, domination. He loses money on almost every sale, intentionally. Books are sold below cost. Shipping is offered at rates that don't cover expenses. Investors think he's reckless. Wall Street analysts call Amazon overvalued and unsustainable. But customers love it. The selection is massive, more books than any physical store could ever stock. Prices are lower than Borders and Barnes& and Noble. And the customer reviews are revolutionary. For the first time in history, readers can see what other readers think before buying a book. Bookstores hate this feature. Publishers are nervous. Jeff doesn't care. By the end of 1996, Amazon has 180,000 customer accounts. Revenue hits $15 million. Still no profit. But the trajectory is clear. This thing is working. In May 1997, Amazon goes public. The IPO raises $54 million. The stock price is $18 per share. Wall Street is skeptical. Barnes& and Noble announces they're launching their own website. Borders partners with Amazon initially, then ditches them to build their own online store. Everyone thinks Amazon's advantage will disappear the moment traditional bookstores go digital. They have the brand recognition, the physical infrastructure, the existing customer base. How can a garage startup compete? They're wrong, because Jeff isn't just building a bookstore. He's building something nobody else understands yet. He's building technology, infrastructure, a system designed to scale infinitely. In 1998, Amazon expands beyond books, music CDs, DVDs, electronics. Jeff's vision of the everything store starts becoming real. By 1999, Time magazine names Jeff Bezos Person of the Year. The headline reads, "The King of Cyberspace." Amazon's stock price hits $106 per share. The company is valued in the billions. And then everything collapses. March 2000, the dot-com bubble bursts. Tech stocks crash. Hundreds of internet companies go bankrupt overnight. Pets.com, Webvan, eToys, Cosmo, all dead. Amazon's stock plummets from $106 to $6 per share. A 94% loss. Analysts declare Amazon finished. The headline from Barron's magazine reads, "Amazon Bomb." Lehman Brothers predicts the company will run out of cash within a year. Bankruptcy seems inevitable. Here's what separates Jeff Bezos from everyone else. He doesn't panic. While competitors slash costs, fire employees, and desperately try to show profit, Amazon does the opposite. They keep investing, building warehouses, improving technology, expanding product selection. Jeff writes a letter to shareholders. The most important line, "We will continue to make investment decisions in light of long-term market leadership considerations rather than short-term profitability considerations." Translation, we're not chasing quarterly profits. We're building for 10 years from now. Most CEOs can't say that. Their boards won't let them. Their shareholders demand immediate returns. But Jeff structured Amazon differently. He controls enough voting shares that he can't be forced out. He has the freedom to think long-term, and it pays off. In 2001, Amazon posts its first profitable quarter. Not for the year, just 3 months. But it's proof. The model works. By 2003, the company is consistently profitable. By 2005, it's undeniable. Amazon isn't just surviving, it's winning. Revenue hits $8.5 billion. But Jeff isn't satisfied, because he's already planning the 2 moves that will transform Amazon from a big online retailer into the most powerful company on earth. 2 products that nobody, not even his own executives, fully understand yet. Amazon Prime, and something called AWS. February 2005. Jeff calls a meeting with his executive team. He has an idea, and it sounds completely insane. Free 2-day shipping, on everything for a flat annual fee of $79. His CFO nearly has a heart attack. The math doesn't work. Amazon will lose money on every Prime member. Shipping costs alone will destroy margins. It's financial suicide. Jeff doesn't care because he understands something his CFO doesn't. Prime isn't about shipping. Prime is about changing behavior. Once a customer pays $79 up front, they'll buy everything on Amazon just to get their money's worth. Groceries, electronics, books, clothes, everything. Amazon becomes their default store for life. He launches Prime in February 2005. Wall Street thinks he's crazy. Analysts predict disaster. They're wrong. Within 2 years, Prime members are spending double what non-Prime members spend. By 2024, Prime has over 200 million subscribers worldwide, paying not $79 anymore, but $139 per year. Prime isn't a shipping program. It's a loyalty machine. The most successful subscription service in retail history. But Prime isn't even the most brilliant thing Jeff builds. That would be AWS, Amazon Web Services. Here's how it happens. Amazon builds massive server infrastructure to handle its own website. Peak traffic during Christmas means they need enough computing power to handle millions of simultaneous visitors. But the rest of the year, that capacity sits mostly unused. Jeff has an idea. What if we rent out that extra computing power? What if other companies could use Amazon's infrastructure to run their own websites and applications? In 2006, Amazon launches AWS, Amazon Web Services, cloud computing. At first, it's just storage, a place where developers can store data without buying their own servers. Then it's computing power, then databases, then machine learning, then everything. Nobody understands what Jeff is building, not even Amazon's own retail team. Why is an online bookstore suddenly competing with Microsoft and IBM in enterprise technology? But Jeff sees it. AWS isn't a side project. It's the future, and it's going to be bigger than retail. He's right. Today, 2025, AWS powers Netflix, Airbnb, NASA, the CIA, Spotify, Disney+, Slack, Reddit, millions of websites and applications. It generates more profit than Amazon's entire retail operation. It's the most successful cloud computing platform on the planet. And it happened because Jeff was willing to build something that had nothing to do with his core business. Meanwhile, Amazon keeps expanding. In 2007, they launched the Kindle, an e-reader that lets you buy and download books wirelessly. Publishers panic. Bookstores panic. Borders files for bankruptcy in 2011. Barnes & Noble struggles to survive. Jeff doesn't stop. 2009, Amazon buys Zappos for $1.2 billion. 2014, Amazon launches Echo and Alexa, voice-controlled AI. 2017, Amazon buys Whole Foods for $13.7 billion. Each acquisition serves the same goal. Get closer to the customer, control more of the supply chain, eliminate friction. By 2018, Amazon's market value hits $1 trillion. The second company in history to reach that milestone. Jeff Bezos' personal net worth peaks at over $200 billion. He becomes the richest person in modern history. The garage startup that sold books online now sells everything. Cloud computing, groceries, streaming movies, smart speakers, prescription drugs, advertising, logistics. Amazon isn't just a store anymore. It's infrastructure. It's the backbone of modern commerce. You buy products on Amazon, Your company's servers run on AWS. You watch shows on Prime Video. You listen to music on Amazon Music. You order groceries from Whole Foods. You ask Alexa to turn on your lights. Amazon isn't competing with Walmart anymore. Amazon is competing with everything. And Jeff Bezos, the guy who quit Wall Street to sell books from a garage, is now worth more than the entire GDP of most countries. But how? How did he do it? What's the secret? How does a bookstore beat everyone? The answer is simpler than you think, but it's also harder than most people can execute. Jeff Bezos has 14 leadership principles that guide every decision at Amazon. They're posted on the company website, memorized by every employee, used in every meeting. But the most important one, the principle that explains everything, is this: customer obsession, not competitor obsession, not profit obsession, customer obsession. Most companies ask, what will make us the most money? Amazon asks, what do customers want? Then they build it, even if it's not immediately profitable. 2-day shipping? Customers wanted it. Lose money for years? Doesn't matter. Build it. One-click ordering? Customers wanted it. Complicated to patent and implement? Doesn't matter. Build it. Cloud computing infrastructure for other businesses? Customers needed it. Has nothing to do with selling books? Doesn't matter. Build it. This sounds simple, but it's not. Because customer obsession requires long-term thinking, and most companies can't think long-term. Wall Street demands quarterly growth. Shareholders want dividends. Boards want safe, predictable decisions. CEOs who don't deliver get fired. Jeff ignores all of it. He focuses on a time frame measured in years, sometimes decades. There's a famous story. In a shareholder meeting, an investor asked Jeff, "What's going to change in the next 10 years?" Jeff pauses, then says, "That's the wrong question. The right question is, what's not going to change in the next 10 years?" The investor looks confused. Jeff continues, "Customers will always want lower prices, faster delivery, more selection. Those things won't change. So we build our entire strategy around those constants, not around trends, not around what's popular this quarter, around what will always be true." This is why Amazon survived the dot-com crash, why they beat Walmart online, why AWS dominates cloud computing. Because Jeff was willing to lose money for years, sometimes a decade, to win the long game. But there's a cost to this strategy, and it's massive. Amazon warehouse workers report brutal conditions, 10-hour shifts, timed bathroom breaks, tracking devices monitoring every movement. Injury rates double the industry average. Workers have described the environment as relentless and dehumanizing. The company has been accused of monopolistic practices, of copying products from successful third-party sellers and promoting Amazon's own version, of manipulating search results, of crushing small businesses. Jeff Bezos became the richest person alive while many Amazon warehouse workers qualified for food stamps. Is this success, or is it something darker? That's for you to decide. But here's what entrepreneurs can learn from Jeff Bezos, regardless of how you feel about Amazon. 1. Think long-term. If you're optimizing for next quarter, you've already lost to someone thinking 5 years ahead. 2. Obsess over your customer, not your competitor. Build what they need, not what your competitor is doing. 3. Be willing to lose money building infrastructure. AWS lost money for years. Now it's worth hundreds of billions. 4. When everyone thinks you're crazy, you might be seeing something they can't. Wall Street said Prime would fail. Wall Street was wrong. Jeff Bezos wasn't the smartest person in tech. He wasn't the best coder. He wasn't even the most charismatic founder. But he thought longer than everyone else. And that made all the difference. In 2021, Jeff stepped down as CEO of Amazon. He's now focused on Blue Origin, his space exploration company. His ex-wife, Mackenzie Scott, has donated over $16 billion to charity, more than almost any living philanthropist. Amazon continues to grow, to dominate, to expand into every corner of modern life. And it all started in a garage, with a man who looked at the future and saw something nobody else could see. Not a bookstore, an everything store. Jeff Bezos turned a garage bookstore into a trillion-dollar empire by doing one thing differently. He thought in decades while everyone else thought in quarters. If you're building something, a company, a product, a dream, ask yourself Jeff's question: what will customers still want in 10 years? Then build for that. Not for next month's revenue, for 10 years from now. This is Empire Stories, where we uncover the truth behind billion-dollar rises and falls. If you want more stories about the strategies, the decisions, and the minds behind the world's biggest companies, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Next time, the dark side of Amazon, what they don't tell you about the empire Jeff built. Thanks for watching.